Good morning, everyone. I am going to wait just a couple of minutes for everybody to get on. If you are here and seeing this live, please say hello so I know that you're here. I am so excited to be with you on this beautiful Tuesday morning. I live down in Florida and it looks pretty sunny out today. I haven't really been outside yet, but it looks like it's going to be a beautiful day here. I would love to know where you all live. So if you want to shoot me a message in the comments and just say that you're here and where you are here from, that would be awesome. I see some people starting to jump on now, so I will wait just a minute or two for everybody to get on. If you're here, please say hi in the comments, and I would love to know where you're from. I'm really excited to talk to you guys today. Hi, Whitney. Whitney says she's in Tennessee. If you're just jumping on, I am down in Florida. I live on Amelia Island, just outside of Jacksonville, Florida. So I'm up in the northeast corner of the state, right on the Georgia border. And excited to be coming to you guys from here today. I am really looking forward to talking to you about public speaking. I love public speaking. It is one of those things that really terrified me in the beginning, but has become such a big part of my life and my business. And I can't imagine not doing it at this point. It's an awesome opportunity for exposure. It's an awesome opportunity to make revenue. So I'll tell you all about that and how you can get started, because hey, we all start somewhere, right? If you are here live, before we get started, just say hi in the comments. I would love to know who's here and tell me where you're from. It's kind of fun to see where everybody is coming in from this morning. Okay, so I will go ahead and get started, and those of you who come in a little bit late, you'll be able to watch the replay later and get everything. But this is about what I think are the 5 steps that get you to that very first speaking gig. Like I said, we all start somewhere, and it's been about 8-9 years, I guess, since I started speaking, and I have had the opportunity now to speak all over the country. I am a paid speaker at this point. I do keynotes. Sometimes I sit on panels. I do workshops. As a matter of fact, I am headed tomorrow to Miami, Florida, because Thursday I am doing a workshop with the Miami Dolphins rookies. I am going to talk to them about how to use social media responsibly as a professional athlete. And I'm super excited because it's my first time speaking to professional athletes. I spend a lot of time going in college athletic departments and talking to college athletes, but it's my very first time speaking to professional athletes. So it's actually the first time I've been like a wee bit nervous about speaking in a really long time. Speaking really like gets my adrenaline going, and I see it as this huge adrenaline rush, and I really enjoy doing it, and I'm so excited about this speaking engagement. But it's the first time in a long time that I'm like just like a teensy weetsiest bit nervous, but I'm sure that will pass and it'll be exciting. So I want to share with you guys how I got started, because it's exactly how you can get started as a public speaker. There was nothing special about me. There was nothing I did that you can't do. So I would love to share with you how I got started. Yeah, and Whitney says she loves the adrenaline rush too. I'm telling you, public speaking, I get more of an adrenaline rush from public speaking than I got zip lining from Whistler Mountain to Blackcomb Mountain last year, which was like this huge zip line. All the adventurous things that I do, public speaking is what gives me the best adrenaline rush. So I'm excited to teach you how to do it. And the way that I want to break it down is sort of the way reporters break down stories. And maybe that's because I have been a reporter in recent years. So I want to talk about sort of the who, what, where, when, why. Okay, that's how I talk to people about getting started as a public speaker. Is we have all these questions we need to answer first. It's great to have that interest in public speaking and to be excited about it, but there is sort of a formulaic, strategic way you can go about getting your speaking career started. And I'm not sure that I was thinking through it exactly like this when I got started, but now that I look back at how I got my start and how I find my speaking engagements now, I think that this method will serve you really well, okay? So the first question that I always ask people when they tell me that they want to do public speaking is I ask them why. why do you want to be a public speaker, or why do you want to get in front of crowds and deliver a message? And if you guys are here live, feel free to type it in the comments. I would love to hear your why. So the ones that I get most often are that they want to spread some sort of inspirational message they have. That's usually somebody who has had something they've overcome in their life, and they want to be able to reach other people who are trying to overcome that same issue. So for example, I was just speaking with somebody last night who wants to do more public speaking around bullying and around suicidal thinking, because this person is a suicide survivor. So, you know, a lot of people who do it just for the messaging have those sorts of stories, okay? Some people, when they come to me, their why is that they want to make more money. And that's fine too. If that's your reason for wanting to be a public speaker, I have no problem with that. Part of the reason I still do public speaking is because I make fantastic money doing it at this point. I did not make any money in the beginning, and we'll talk about that a little bit, but I do make money now. So I need to know your why first before I can start talking to you about who you should be speaking to, what kind of events you should be speaking at, that sort of thing. So for me, the reason I started public speaking was because I had a book deal. And my book publisher told me that I needed to have a platform, okay? So I needed to have people who knew who I was and would therefore be willing to buy a book from me. Somebody says every woman needs a real estate portfolio, and I don't think our society encourages women to become real investors. Very interesting. See, people have all sorts of reasons why they're interested in speaking, and no reason is any better than any other. Don't feel like you can't be a great inspirational or motivational speaker if you don't have some sort of crisis you've overcome in your life. That's fine. I mean, I don't feel like I really have one either. And like I said, my reason for wanting to do public speaking was that I wanted to sell my book. So that's fine. If making money, selling a book, if those are your reasons, those are perfectly good reasons to be a public speaker. So I wanted to get in front of audiences initially where I could establish myself as an expert on the topic for my book. So the topic for my book was Major League Baseball's collective bargaining agreement. Okay, I was a corporate attorney at the time, and my specialty was collective bargaining in professional sports. And so I was going to write this book about the history of collective bargaining in Major League Baseball. And first I needed to sort of establish myself as an expert. I needed people to see me as the leading expert, or at least an expert, on Major League Baseball's collective bargaining agreement. And the only thing I could think to do in the beginning to find speaking engagements was to look for nearby college classrooms that I could speak in. And I'm sorry if you guys can hear my dog whining. She is like over in the corner having a meltdown. I think she wants to be on video. You don't get a lot of that in the middle of your speaking engagement, but live video, when you're shooting it from home, you get it a lot. So I looked at a college that was nearby. I lived in Atlanta at the time, and Georgia State University was very close to my house. And so I looked to see what kind of classes Georgia State had that would fit my topic. And they had a class that was on sport finance. And that was a really good tie-in for my discussion of collective bargaining. So I emailed the professor. I just looked up to see who was teaching it that semester, and I emailed the professor. I introduced myself. I explained to her that I was writing this book and that I really wanted to do some speaking, and did she ever have guest lecturers? That's it. That's really what I asked her. And she emailed me back almost immediately and said she would love to have me as a guest lecturer one day. And look, I taught a semester. That was all it took for me to find out that I didn't want to be a teacher. But I did teach college for one semester, and I found that professors love to have guest experts because that's one less day that you've got to come up with content for class. And maybe that's just because I ended up being somebody who didn't enjoy teaching. I'm sure there are people who love to go in the classroom every day and have material they can't wait to share. But I have found professors are always very open to having you as a guest lecturer if your topic fits into their class. So take a look at the schedules for universities around you and look at some of the classes they offer, and even look at clubs and organizations at the college where your topic might fit in with that club or organization. So because my specialty is the business of sports, I often talk to sports management, sports law, sports business clubs at universities, and even in graduate programs and at law schools and that sort of thing. So you can take a look at nearby colleges and just reach out to either the professor teaching the class or the president of the organization and let them know a little bit about you and the topic that you want to talk about. And we're going to talk a little bit more about how you develop that topic, but this is the reason you need to know your why before you start thinking about what your topic's going to be or who your audience is going to be is because it really should direct that, okay? So I do a number of different kinds of speeches at this point. I told you I'm speaking to the Miami Dolphins later this week. That speech for me really is all about making money, to be perfectly honest. That pays really well. It's a topic I know and that I've done previously about social media and how to use social media for professional development. But the whole point in me doing that really for me is the money. I mean, those people, the people who are going to be there, the rookies, NFL players, are not likely to become clients of mine in the future. It could happen, but I'm not seeing this as an opportunity to get clients. I'm also not seeing it as an opportunity to sell my book. This is actually one of my books right here, Saturday Millionaires. That's the reason for many of my speaking engagements. I speak a lot at college booster clubs because my why is I want to sell my book. And so at those events, my goal is to sell books, okay? So the reason you need to know your why is because that is gonna drive where you find your audiences and what you ultimately end up talking about. So if my why is selling books, I'm going to look for audiences who are most likely to buy a book about college football. Okay, so that's going to be college football fans. That's why I go to booster clubs. But if my ultimate goal is to make money, I'm not going to go to booster clubs because booster clubs actually don't pay that well. Some don't pay at all, and some only pay like a couple of $100. I can make thousands of dollars going to speak to college athletic departments, or like I said, going to speak to the Miami Dolphins later this week. So you need to have that why first before you start looking for that speaking engagement. That's going to help you with the next question I have for you, which is who? Who do you want to speak to, okay? So that should tie into your goal. You want to have as many people in the audience as possible to serve your goal. So if your goal is to reach teenagers who are being bullied, you want an audience full of teenagers being bullied. If your goal is to sell books, you want an audience full of people who fit the profile to be readers of your book, okay? That's why I do it in this order. I decide why, sort of what I want to accomplish, then I decide who I'm going to talk to. And in the beginning, your first audience might not be your ideal audience, okay? A lot of times your first audience it's going to be a free speaking engagement most of the time. And it's going to be what I would call low-hanging fruit. So college classrooms, Rotary clubs, Optimist clubs, Lions clubs, networking organizations for businesses in your area. Those type of gigs are fairly easy to get, actually. If you kind of have your stuff together and send a decent looking email pitch, those are pretty easy to get, especially when you're not asking for a fee. Now, there might only be a couple of people in the room who meet your why, who meet that goal that you have, but in the beginning, it's really important to just be getting reps, to get that experience as a public speaker. And so sometimes that means speaking to an audience where every single person in the audience isn't necessarily your ideal client or your ideal customer, okay? So although I want you to start with why and think about sort of goal audiences and who your perfect audience would be, know that in the beginning, you may just need to get reps. I went and spoke to a lot of Rotary clubs. I spoke in a lot of college classrooms. I wasn't selling books. I wasn't making money, but it got me the reps. It got me very comfortable with public speaking, and it got me testimonials that I could use to pitch myself to other organizations to show them that I was an effective public speaker. Okay, so now you've decided who you want to talk to. Now you decide what you want to talk about. Now, in the beginning, you're already going to have an idea of what you want to talk about, okay? I knew that I wanted to talk about, in the beginning, collective bargaining in Major League Baseball, okay? Because that was my goal, was to establish myself as an expert in that area. But even now, I've got sort of a list of topics I do. I've got like 3 or 4 topics I do over and over and over. However, I tweak my speech every single time, okay? When I go talk to the Dolphins later this week, that's a speech I've given a lot of times in college athletic departments, but I have added in some information now that is specific to professional athletes. I changed the color scheme of my PowerPoint to be the Dolphins colors, just because I thought that was a nice touch. I put in some headlines that were specific to the Dolphins around social media usage. So I tweak my topic a little bit for my audience because I want the best chance to connect with my audience. And so giving the same boilerplate speech every time, it probably isn't going to do that. Okay, you need to tweak it a little bit for who your audience is. So if I'm sending a pitch to a college athletic department versus sending a pitch to an NFL team, it's going to differ a little bit, okay? If I send a pitch to a law firm for a conference or event, maybe it's their summer retreat, versus going to talk to, I went to the American Advertising Federation last year. Those are going to look a little bit different because my advice specific to lawyers and law firms is a little bit different, not to mention I am a former attorney, so I have some different things to share with that group than I do the Advertising Federation. So you decide why you want to talk, what your goal is, okay? Then you decide who your ideal audience is, who you want to talk to. Then you decide what you want to talk about, okay? This is all happening before you send the email or make a phone call to pitch yourself as a speaker. And because I'm cheating a little bit on my notes, which is right below the screen. That's why I keep looking down. I want to make sure I don't miss any of these like really good nuggets that I have. I usually just get on and wing it. But I was horribly sick last night and didn't get a lot of sleep, and I feel like my brain is not like totally functioning today. So I'm cheating just a little bit off of my notes. I actually don't take notes to speeches at all. I know my material well enough now that I can just sort of wing it, and I find that allows me to have a lot more personality and get a lot more animated than if I was reading off of something. But I'm going to cheat just a tiny bit this morning, okay? So you do want to tweak your content for your audience. And this is where you can stand out when you send that email pitch, where you're reaching out to someone you don't know and saying, hey, I really want to speak at your conference. I really want to speak at your event. I really want to speak in your classroom. Because instead of emailing them and saying, I'm a speaker on leadership, I'm a speaker on female empowerment. Do you know how many pitches they get that talk about leadership, female empowerment, you know, a number of topics? I mean, I could rattle off topics all day long. They get a lot of those pitches. You need a unique angle for this, okay? So I think one of the best ones I did was for the American Advertising Federation last year. Actually, I guess it was earlier this year, back in January. And they booked me because they wanted a speaker who would talk about sports. They just wanted to like mix it up a little bit and have something fun for their membership. And so they were booking me mostly for sports. But I knew that some of my like ideal clients were going to be sitting in the room. And so I wanted to be able to sort of sneak in content that benefited me and my business, because my goal going there, my why for the American Advertising Federation, was to get new clients. Okay, so my coaching practice, where I work on visibility with people and I'm a publicist for some professionals, has really nothing to do with my sports experience. Okay, I was a corporate attorney who, through blogging, social media, public speaking, podcasting, all these different visibility strategies, became a nationally recognized expert on the business of sports. I have worked for ESPN, I've worked for Forbes, I do TV, radio, writing. You know, I've really established myself in that area. Now I work as a coach, teaching other people how to become visible. That was a process I went through to become a visible expert. And now I teach other people how to become visible for their expertise. And for some people, I serve as a publicist and actually do the pitching for them. And I'm trying to think, as I put together this American advertising speech, how do I tie that in to sports, which is what they really want me to talk about. So I did a speech, just took me some time to come up with. I did a speech on things you could learn from sports that you could apply to your own career. So ways that sporting leagues and teams and athletes are marketed that you could apply to your own professional career. Okay, so I tied in sports and I tied in my coaching practice. It was awesome. I got tons of phone calls after it. And that's why you don't pick your topic until you already have picked your audience, okay? That way, when you send the email pitch, you send them a very specific pitch for a very specific topic. And they think, wow, this is exactly what our group needs. This is exactly what our members would love to hear. Okay, that's why I sort of have a general topic idea sometimes. Then I narrow it down to, okay, why do I want to do this? Do I want to sell more books? Do I want to make more money? That helps me pick my audience based on that goal. Then I start tweaking my topic and I figure out how to pitch a unique angle for that group. I do not bring them big, broad topics like leadership or female empowerment or even social media. I bring very targeted advice for their membership, their audience, okay? Then you're looking for where, okay? Once you figure, if you don't already have a target in mind, okay, let's just say you know that you want to talk, I want to do my sports marketing message, and I know I want to talk to people who are interested in marketing, okay? Then you're going to hit Google, and you're going to type in the name of your city, because you're probably going to start in your own city before you start getting paid to travel to speak. So I might look up Jacksonville, advertising networking groups or Jacksonville advertising conferences. You know, you'll play around with some things. Your goal is to find organizations and events in your area where your topic would fit in. It really is just spending time on Google. And even when I'm traveling, if I know I'm going to be in a city for a while, so for example, I know I'm going to be in Southern California for a week this fall, I'm already planning for that, okay? I'm already doing my Google searches and figuring out what organizations can I reach out to in Southern California who I can go speak to, maybe make some money to pay for my whole trip. I'm really going for a friend's wedding and I just want to stay out there for a whole week. I used to live in Southern California. I thought it would be fun. And I'm going to try to finance my trip through public speaking fees, which I have no doubt that I will be able to do because I've done it many times in the past. And I find those speaking gigs largely through Google. It really just takes a little bit of legwork. And then you get down to my last tip, which is the how. How do you actually pitch yourself for this? So I do have a guide I put together for folks that walks them through exactly how to write this email. And not only do I give you a sample of an email I've written, and I'm about to read you the guide and include a second email sample, but I walk you through paragraph by paragraph, what should be in each paragraph and how to really stand out with that initial email. And I will post the link for you guys in the comments when I get done with the live, but that guide's $19. It normally is $49, but I offer it for $19 when people sign up for my email list as like a limited time offer. So I'm willing to offer that to you guys as well. But it's all about putting together that pitch email and just putting yourself out there. My coach suggests that I send a pitch email. That I send 10 pitch emails every single day. 10 a day. I talked to someone last night who said that they've been instructed to send 100 a day. Okay, now I think 100 is crazy. You can't personalize 100 emails a day, not even if that was your full-time job. I think 10 a day is an awesome goal. Some days I hit it, some days I don't, to be perfectly honest. I get busy with my clients and pitching them around, and so I don't always get a chance to pitch myself, but that's an awesome goal to set for yourself in the beginning, or even just set one a day. One a day is probably more than you're doing right now. So just do a little more than you're doing right now. But send that email. You can put everything in the email, or some of you have probably heard about Speakers One Sheets, which is just a full color PDF, usually has a little bit of biographical information. It's got the topics that you can speak on. It's got some nice imagery. And so you can write a shorter email and then just tell people to take a look at your one sheet, which you attach. So that is also a method. I didn't do that in the beginning, but I do it now. So that's something you can work up to with the one sheet. Email is perfectly fine. You do not have to have that one sheet to get started out. The most important thing is just to start. Just start sending those emails. I would be happy to answer questions for you guys. So I'm going to sort of recap what we went through really quickly, and I'm going to watch the comment feed over here to see if you guys have questions. So this will give you a minute to get them in, and I know there's a little bit of lag from when you post them to when I actually see them in the comment box here. So I will recap and just give you a minute to send in questions. Okay. You want to start with why you want to speak, because that is going to help you make your decision about who you're going to speak to. So are you speaking because you want to make money? Are you speaking because you want to sell books? Are you speaking just because you want to establish yourself as an expert? Are you speaking because you've been through a crisis and you want to prevent other people from going through that same crisis? Decide why. What is your ultimate goal with speaking? Then you decide who you want to speak to. Then you decide what audience gives you the best shot at reaching that goal you just set with your why. Okay, then you decide what you want to talk about. What is going to meet the needs of that audience? What questions do they have that you can answer? Or what problem do they have that you can solve? That's how I come up with a lot of my topics. Then you're going to start thinking through where you can speak. You're going to hit Google and you're going to look for conferences, events, meetings. It doesn't have to be a huge annual conference. It can just be a monthly meeting that a networking group has. It can be a college classroom like I talked about before. I have a list of all the places where you can find those first speaking gigs, and I will post a link to that in the comments when I get done with the Facebook Live as well. Maybe that'll help jog your creative energy there, and you'll be able to come up with some great places to speak. And then it's your how, which is just writing your email. And I will post a link to my guide. I'm going to give you guys that discounted price of $19. And somebody says, does the $19 guide go through how to structure a pitch? Yes, I literally walk you through paragraph by paragraph what should be in that pitch letter. And I give you a sample of one of my letters that landed a paid speaking gig. So that way you can see an example, because for me, that's what I'm always looking for. I'm always looking for an example. I want to see what somebody else has done that's worked and then find a way to, tweak it and make it my own and make it work for me. So I do give you guys a sample. And then once you download that, you will be on an email list only of people who have purchased that guide. And those people get like some supercharged advice the rest of my email list doesn't get. And one of those things is going to be a second sample email I'm actually going to add in. I will go ahead and add it in today. That way, if any of you guys jump on the guide today, you will get that second sample email shortly. So that is what you'll get with the guide, and I will post that link as soon as I get done with the live. Somebody said, Whitney says, I pitched 2 college professors while you've been speaking. Great idea. I love that, Whitney. That's awesome. I'm so glad that you're taking action already. It's one thing to give you guys this advice, but it is so rewarding when people start emailing me and leaving me messages on Facebook and telling me where they've booked their next gig. And guys, you can book these things fast. I'm talking like people get back to you in a day or two. Don't get discouraged if it takes them a little bit longer, but you'll be surprised sometimes how quickly people will get back to you. Carissa says, love examples. Yes, there are definitely examples in that. And Carissa says she's pitching college professors too. I'm telling you, speaking in college classrooms has been awesome for me. When I started in the beginning speaking in college classrooms, I got paid nothing. I mean, I made no money whatsoever. I just went in to guest lecture for free and just to build up my experience. But now I get brought in by like whole departments. So for example, I'm speaking at University of Arkansas this fall, and their athletic department, sports management department, law school, and journalism program, all 4 are going to team up to bring me in for 2 full days where I'm going to do speeches for all of those different groups on some different topics too. It's not even the same speech over and over. And that is a paid gig where I'm going to make some serious cash. I'm going to fly my husband out there with me. We're going to stay through the weekend for an Arkansas football game. We're going to make a whole thing out of it. It's going to be so much fun. So those free college speaking engagements can eventually turn into paid speaking engagements, okay? It's really not that tough to make that transition, especially once you get into a school and they know who you are. Carissa says, is there anything you see as a requirement that you must provide to most speaking gigs? And I'll start talking, Carissa, but if you can tell me a little bit more about exactly what you're thinking in terms of what you provide. So are you thinking like having to bring your computer, or having to, are you talking about things like the day of your speech that you have to provide? What I generally do is I take my laptop. My laptop only has an HDMI port to connect to a projector. So I have an adapter I take, because in most college classrooms and even in other venues that I'm in, they still have like the old school monitor plug, like you would plug, like an old computer monitor would plug into a desktop computer. And so I have an adapter, because usually they don't have one. So I've got that adapter with me, but I also put my presentation on a flash drive and take the flash drive with me, because a lot of times they have a computer that's already hooked up to the projector and you can just stick the flash drive in and do it that way. I also, you gotta be safe, because you can get there and you don't have your PowerPoint and you don't have your materials. You will get flustered very quickly. So I also always save my presentations in Dropbox, because worst case scenario, I can get on somebody's computer there and download it from Dropbox. So that's how I sort of protect myself and make sure I have it. So I don't know if that answers your question, Carissa, or if there's something else, because you said, is there anything you see as a requirement that you must provide to most speaking gigs? That's all I can really think of in terms of what I provide. Sometimes people will ask in advance to see your slide deck. They want to see your PowerPoint. The Miami Dolphins did that to me. Obviously, there's some heavy screening when you're going to go talk to an NFL team. So before they booked me as a speaker, they did make me send my PowerPoint deck, which means I had to put together my whole speech, plan it, do the PowerPoint deck, knowing I might not even get the speaking engagement, but it was worth it. NFL team. Pretty big money to do that speaking engagement, something that really takes my speaking to the next level. So I was happy to do that and put together. And it's awesome because that speech is in 2 days, and I've been ready for it for months, because I had to put the PowerPoint together like 3 months ago to get approved to speak to them in the first place. Okay, Carissa says I answer questions. Does anybody else have any questions before we get done here? And if you watch this on the replay, feel free to leave additional questions in the comments. I will keep coming back and checking on the comments and answering questions for as long as you guys want to ask them. And I'm going to put 2 links in the comments. One of the links is going to be for my guide about where to find speaking gigs. So in addition to the ideas I talked about today with college classrooms and Rotary clubs, it will list my other ideas. And I'm also going to post the link for my guide to writing the email. I think it's called Writing Emails That Land Speaking Gigs. So it walks you through paragraph by paragraph what should be in that email that you send. I also show you an example of one of mine that follows that formula and one that landed me a paid speaking gig. And then once you're on that email list, you will get a second sample email that, again, I will walk you through paragraph by paragraph and tell you exactly why I included everything in there. And that second email is actually a pitch I wrote for a client. So it's not about me, it's about a completely different topic, but that way you can see no matter what your topic is, no matter what your background is, you can follow that formula and make it work. So I'm happy to share those links with you guys. Krista says, besides a pitch, do you send any other material? I did not in the beginning. The only difference in what I do now is that I do have what I call speaker one sheets. So I have 3 of them because I have 3 main topics that I go out and speak about. So I have a PDF. I created them in Canva myself, and I like have no design ability whatsoever. I just used a template that they had and adapted it a little bit. So it's full color. It has a picture of me on it. It has a short bio on me, and then it's got bullet points that tell them what the audience will take away from my speech. So if my topic is how to use social media for professional development, I give, here are the key takeaways, and give the bullet points. That's what people are really interested in when you're organizing an event or a conference and you're booking a speaker. You know, in addition to booking someone who's engaging and who the audience will enjoy, they also want to book somebody who really is going to teach the audience something. So giving them those key takeaways is big. I will see if I can send you guys, I will post a link. I will find a good example. I'm actually in the process of redoing my one sheets right now. When I get my one sheet done, I will try to finish it up today. I'll post a link to that so that you can see what my one sheet looks like too. But you don't have to have that. Don't feel like you've got to wait. Don't wait. Go ahead and start sending emails and pitching yourself. And then when you have time, you can put together a one sheet and you can start attaching that. And then your email can be a little bit shorter because you can tell people just to refer to the one sheet to learn more about your topic. But it is not necessary. I booked gigs, including paid speaking gigs, for years without a one sheet. So please don't let the one sheet give you an excuse to procrastinate and wait on this, okay? Start doing it now. Crystal says, where do we go to sign up for your list? I will post a link when I get done with the live, okay? So I'm gonna post a link for my guide on where to find speaking gigs. It isn't a free opt-in. It requires you to put in your email address, but that gets you on my public speaking list. And I give tons of advice. I am not even really selling to you in that list right now because I have a course that I'm still working on. And so it's not even in my email sequence right now. There's no hard sell in that email sequence because my course isn't done yet. Right now it has 5 emails in it that go out over the course of a couple of weeks, and it is tons of advice. It's how to overcome fear. It is how to, pitch. It's how to leverage public speaking for other opportunities, whether that's guest blogging or television, radio. I was able to do all of those things once I started public speaking. So I give you tons of other tips and advice in the email sequence. I know we all sign up for these opt-ins and we end up with like all these emails in our inbox, but I promise you guys, these emails are packed full of so much advice. I've tried to give you guys so much value. I want you to stay on my list. I want you to feel like you're getting value. And I want to hear that you're booking speaking gigs and that you're out there kicking butt as a public speaker, okay? So I make sure I give you the most advice that I can. So I will post the link for that. I will also post the link for my guide to writing the email. And I will try really hard to finish my one sheet today so that I can share that with you guys too. I really kind of I need the kick in the butt to finish it, to be honest. So this will force me to, because now I'm accountable to you guys. Any other questions before I finish up? And like I said, if you think of a question later or you're watching this on replay and you want to leave me a question, leave it in the comments. I will come back and answer questions in the comments. I promise. Oh, thank you, Mary. Thank you guys so much for being here today. And thank you, Mary, for this opportunity. I was so excited to do this. And I'm telling you guys, I got like no sleep last night. I was sick all night last night, and doing this has made me feel better. I feel so energized. I told you guys about the adrenaline with public speaking. I get it from doing lives too. So now I've got the adrenaline, and now I can power through the rest of my day. So thank you for being here and for being so engaged. And I am very, very happy to come on and answer all of your questions. So leave them in the comments. Even if it's days from now and you start getting into this and writing your emails and you're like freaking out, leave it in the comments, send me a private message, join my group. It's called the Visibility Workshop. I will post a link to that too. I'm happy to answer questions. You're never going to hear me say, oh, well, you know, if you were my one-on-one client, I would answer that. No. You ask me a question, I'll answer it. So thank you guys so much for being here, and I hope the rest of your Tuesday is fantastic. Thank you.